speaking to you and taking some questions. Robert, thank you for continuing to host. I think you told me this is your 31st one of these, something like that. That's amazing. That really is amazing, and keep it up. I want to make a pitch to you, and then I'm happy to take any questions or comments about it, but I've got a pitch I want to make to you. And it's about the topic of religious freedom, and I want to take you back to the last time that we were facing a major security problem that was a global threat. And it was the Cold War, and it was the Cold War against the Soviet Union. And we spent trillions of dollars, and the world split into kind of two spheres, where you had those that were with the freedom-loving world and those that were with communism or under the Soviet umbrella, right? Not everybody remembers that. A lot of you are maybe too young to remember it, but you would have read about it. I lived through it. A bunch of us lived through it. We spent a ton of money, a lot of time. We did a huge amount of investment. We were united, and we were saying, we are going to stop this communist threat. We're going to stop it. Now, we had bickering and disputes and everything that took place during that period of time. No question about it. But we all saw it as a threat to our freedom, our livelihood, our way of life. Okay? Now, for a long period of time during that Cold War time period, we had decided that we were just going to live side by side. Okay? They got their part of the world, we got our part. We're always trying to poach in on their part. They're always trying to poach in on our part. But there was kind of a détente. We're going to live peacefully side by side. And that was kind of and we were going to have mutually assured destruction overarching the whole thing to make sure it didn't get too bad, which is just a crazy concept. Mutually assured destruction. Okay, we'll blow you up if you blow us up. But actually it works pretty well against communists who are atheists and don't see anything after this life. And so you kill me here, this is all I got. So it kind of actually works as a deterrent strategy. And it did for a long period of time. We had détente. And then Ronald Reagan comes along. And Ronald Reagan was a disruptor. You might think that Donald Trump is a disruptor. I would say he would probably agree with that moniker and that title. Reagan comes along as a disruptor, and he says, we're not going to do détente anymore. We win, you lose, is what he declared. And that was an extremely provocative statement. He also called the Soviet Union an evil empire. Do you remember this statement when he calls it an evil empire? Do you remember the public reaction, at least in this country, maybe in your country, when he did that? I mean, he's a rogue cowboy. He's out there. This is very volatile what he is doing. This is a horrible thing that he's calling the Soviet Union an evil empire. Remember that. I was out on a tractor in the middle of Kansas because I grew up on a farm, and I'm listening to this, and I'm beating on the dashboard. Going, that's right, that's right, that's right. And then I hear the commentators afterwards saying, this is terrible. He can't say these sort of, this is provocative. I'm going, why can't he say what's true? Why can't he do that? And his speaking of those words really started to galvanize because people go, it is true. Stalin killed millions of people. They were holding down millions of people around the world that were not free. They were not free to live and move forward. And while the chattering class was all scared about what was going on, the people, which I was amongst in that time, he's speaking truth. This is true. When he stands in front of the Brandenburg Gate, the Berlin Wall, and he has to fight his own speechwriters to get the line in there, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And they take it out multiple times because they don't want this line in there because of how provocative it is. And he kept putting it back in. He kept putting it back in. And he gets there, and he's president. He said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Ronald Reagan didn't have a tank or a bulldozer around that day. That wall crumbled. That wall crumbled. off of words spoken of truth at that point where they were. The second person I want to bring into this is Pope John Paul, who is a Polish pope, first one from outside of Italy in 400 years at that point in time. And he returns back to Poland, and he says these beautiful lines. He says to the people, "Be not afraid." And the place crumbled. The communists were done. He didn't have a tank, but he had truth. And to me, what we've got to do in this moment in time we're in, and we're facing against an axis of evil, that you can compare it to the axis of evil in World War II. You can compare it to the Soviet Union leadership, only it's China leadership now. You've got an axis of evil, and we've got to confront it with these truths. That this is an evil empire. That the Chinese Communist Party has killed more people of its own people than any regime in the history of mankind. Nobody else is even close. That it is at war with faith. And I've written a book on that. I'm coming out with it this next year, China's War on Faith. And why, you ask yourself, why would China spend billions of dollars to suppress people of faith in their own country? Why do you spend so much money suppressing the Uyghur Muslims? They're fine with Uyghurs, they don't like the Muslim. Why do you spend billions of dollars, confining, repressing the Tibetan Buddhists? You talk about a peaceful people, what are they going to do to you? A militant Buddhist? I mean, I don't think they can really get up a big army. I'm sure you can make some of them mad, but that's the whole point, right? They're not supposed to be mad. Falun Gong, they loathe these guys. They do the worst treatment in the world I've ever heard. And then the Christians, they're kind of selective on how they've recently taken a bunch of Christian hostages again, but they're oppressing all. Why do they spend billions of dollars? Why does the Chinese Communist Party fear religious freedom more than our aircraft carriers or our nuclear weapons? They fear it more, religious freedom, than aircraft carriers or nuclear weapons. Why? They could completely undermine them. If there's religious freedom in that country, the Chinese Communist Party is toast. It's done. It's over. And the Chinese people are a religious people. And you just want to release them to be who they want to be. My assertion is religious freedom is the best tool we have to bring down authoritarians today. And we've been treating it like a kind of boutique human right. Kind of a nice one, if we want to have it, but it's not that essential. I mean, it is essential, but it's just in the group of human rights. I want freedom of assembly, I want freedom of speech, I want all of which is good, and I agree with. But this one allows the people interior to the country to organize and to hold themselves outside of the government. Let me give you an example of that happened in our own country. The civil rights movement in the 60s here in this country that Martin Luther King leads. Where did he organize? Where did he organize? He organized in the black churches. They were outside of the government control. And they stood for a moral authority that the government didn't have at the time. Why does Ortega throw out the Catholic priest and the evangelical pastors in Nicaragua? Why does he throw them all out? They answer to the kingdom of God, not the kingdom of man. They will confront his authority, and I'm sure the Chinese told him, if you don't get them under your boot, you are going to lose power. You've got to get these guys under your control. And so he locks them up, puts them in jail, or they disappear. These are our greatest allies in this confrontational moment we're in now, and we need to stand with them. These religious leaders, they're the first attacked, the last ones left standing, are this group of people. And we generally, as freedom-loving countries, are going, that's nice. I'm glad you're a Buddhist. okay? And they're throwing you in jail and they're kicking you out and they're saying that the Chinese Communist Party is saying they're going to name the next Dalai Lama. When this one dies, that they will pick the next Dalai Lama. And you're going, really, on so many levels, this is just so gutsy. You're atheist, so you don't even believe in something that lives on. And the Tibetan Buddhists have had their own process for picking the Dalai Lama for centuries. And you now are the ones who are going to pick. Why? What are you even interested in this for? It's control. It's the head of the Tibetan people that's held them together. I am suggesting here we take religious freedom and make it our top human rights issue as a national security matter. No longer as a human right issue, no longer as a boutique idea, no longer something, well, that's good. It is in the UN Charter of Human Rights. It's Article 18. It is a central issue. The other beauty about this one is 80% of the people in the world are religious, claim a religion of some type. So you automatically tie into this huge mass of people in the world that you're just standing with them on something they believe in, and most people organize their life around their set of religious beliefs, some way or another. It's in there organized. It's the human right of the soul on top of it. And I believe it's the first human right that God gave us. And he gave us to us knowing we would mess it up and he would have to do something to clean it up. That would be very costly. So I'm saying if your government isn't, if you're thinking about this, okay, then what do? You need to name a point person in your government on religious freedom. You need to put them in the national security portfolio, not the human rights portfolio, not State Department portfolio. Put them in the national security portfolio. Start meeting with and organizing people that are in your neighborhood. Maybe you're near Nicaragua. Maybe you're nearby Iran. Start meeting with Baha'i leaders in Iran or from outside of Iran. Start meeting with Christian leaders that are persecuted. Call them out. Ronald Reagan, again, I want to go back to him. Before he's president, he's traveling America talking about the Jewish refuseniks. Ronald Reagan's not a Jew. But he's talking about the Jewish refuseniks not being allowed to leave the Soviet Union and emigrate to Israel. Why? It undermines really the Soviet Union's moral authority. Why are you treating your own people this poorly? And it was a moral cause they had no answer for. None. And we need to lift up these moral causes that China, Russia, and Iran have no answer for. We need to hold meetings about it. We need to host people. We need to publicly shine a light. We need to support these people diplomatically, publicly. As I say, we need to host international religious freedom summits in your country about what's happening in your neighborhood. This undermines the moral authority of the axis of evil that's challenging us at this time, and it is a place they have no answer for. None. And it's a place that it scares them more than anything else. They can't handle a religiously free people. Completely blows them apart. I thank you for letting me put that rant in front of you. I would be happy to work with any of you. We've got a big International Religious Freedom Summit coming up here February 2 and 3 in Washington. It's the week of the National Prayer Breakfast. If any of you come to that, we'll have nearly 2,000 people this year, and we'll have the same or more next year. I had the Vice President of the United States that were there, a number of members of Congress, talking about how do we move forward in this area. These things are live issues. They're real bullets. In Syria right now, you got religious minorities that are being persecuted and likely to be genocide in the future if we don't get a system set up well and right there. In Nigeria today, you've got the beginnings of just really a caliphate taking place between radical Muslim groups and attacking Christians and moderate Muslims, and it's going to spread in that whole region if something doesn't get going to stop it. And on top of all of that, you're confronting the beast of China and this axis of evil with something that will really work. Manus, come up here. Manus Churchill heads the Religious Freedom Summit, and he's going to tell you a little bit about the mechanics of that, and then I don't know if we need to